I want to thank all my colleagues. I know our districts were impacted by this, but I know that each of our districts experience, we know what's happening in Rancho Palos Verdes. We know that there have been environmental disasters in SDs 1 and 2. So this conversation impacts all of us while it will be informed by experience that happened this year. I want to start my remarks by naming Randall Mead, Elizabeth Morgan, Charles Mortimer, Betty O'Meara, Annette Rosilli, Mark Scherenberg, Arthur Simino, Rory Sykes, Jeffrey Takayama, Diane Webb, Hak Wong, and a yet unnamed person from Lomas Avenue, who were all victims in the Palisades fire. I too am frustrated by what I feel are areas of incompleteness in terms of this report. I think in the aftermath of, I'm glad that we released it early so people had some time, but I also know that there will, even past this conversation, be more questions and more due diligence that must be done. I know there are also after-action reports that are happening to explore other areas, but I think there will still be questions from this. And 3 areas of omission that have come to my attention, my office's attention. There are many issues, but 3 areas I want to focus on. First and foremost, personal accounts. We asked people in our districts to participate in this process. And as we know from anyone who has worked with survivors of any sort of trauma, asking them to tell their story over and over again re-traumatizes them and their experience. I know why it is necessary for a report like this. However, this report not easily linking to the personal accounts that people shared is something that is very painful to people who took the time and dug within themselves to share their stories. So where have you accounted for the personal stories that have been shared, and where can people make sure that you have accounted for them in this report?
We certainly recognize how difficult it was through the listening sessions. In some sessions, we spent many hours with them, hearing their tragic stories, sitting with them, reviewing the unimaginable. What they provided for us was direction as we wrote this report. They are throughout this report because it sent us in the direction that we needed to go, dig further, ask more questions, find the policies, identify where the gaps in the policies were. I absolutely would love to have an appendix that filled every word that they shared, because we have them all. The report would have been 400 pages long. Every word that they spoke in these listening sessions drove us to the direction that we needed to find more information. We asked the questions with the answers that they needed.
I appreciate that this report is supposed to be actionable, so it has to be focused, but we have, I don't even know how many appendices in this. I think there could have absolutely been an appendix that included the stories that were shared, so people knew that their stories were included, that they were accounted for, that we were able to consume that information, and that it truly informed this report. So I think that is one omission I wanted to raise. The second is in part what informed this particular after-action report, which are the repeated false alerts that people received, which can contribute to what we heard you identify in your report as a warning fatigue, and also contributed to misinformation. So we know that we're fighting both feeling that people were getting too much information or overly warned, and fighting that people did not have correct information and felt underprepared. So one of the contributors to that was these repeated false alerts. So can you tell me why that was not included in this report?
We were looking at the 24 days that were included in the board's motion to look at the alerts and warnings. And while we assessed the warnings and alerts that were provided most importantly, between the 6th and the 8th, when most of the evacuations were occurring, we understood and found that the alerts that went out were either received or caught up in many of the damaged cell towers. I am going to look to the Director of Emergency Management as well, because we did have a series of questions for the FCC and the other people that are engaged with alerting and notification, and they declined to meet with us. I know that the Senator has also done an investigation of that large alert that went out, and do want to direct people to that. We did not cross into that since there was a separate investigation for that rogue alert. The nationwide problem of warning fatigue, I wish I had a good explanation for it. It is not only happening here in California, but across the country. As alert systems have been put in place, very little guidance and governance have been put across the board for these systems. We have opt-in systems. We have systems that do not require to opt in or sign up. We have federal agencies that send alarms and notifications without providing notifications to the communities. And I wish I had an answer for you, because this is a confounding problem. When you have multiple red flag alerts daily, and then this one they need to pay attention to, it becomes very confusing for the community. And if there is not an investment in the community education and preparedness, it will continue. Because there isn't lead or guidance at the federal level or state level to sort through this. And so it needs to happen community by community.
Director, did you want to add?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor. As it relates to the initial Kenneth Fire emergency notification that was broadcast across the county, and then the subsequent rebroadcast, as Aaron had stated, we provided all of the information to the McChrystal Group, in addition to the congressional oversight investigation that was commissioned by U.S. Representative Garcia. And then there is that report available, which explains both the issue at the local level, which was a technological glitch within the software system that addresses the initial wireless alert that went out. Then there's the subsequent rebroadcasting, which Aaron noted was related to the messages being cached in the cell towers that were damaged or offline. There's other explanations within it, and I would reference everyone to the U.S. Congressional Oversight Report sounding the alarm.
So I heard two different things. I heard that the FCC didn't respond to you, and I also heard that there was a federal investigation that enumerated a lot of actions. So is it both? How is it both?
We did not do the federal investigation, and the FCC did not answer our request for interview to talk about any of our alerting questions. All of our questions went through emergency management.
And where in this report, in any appendices, are we linking to the congressional report that was done? Is it in the report and I just missed it?
No, I can speak to that. The rogue alert that went out was not related to the Palisades or Eaton fire, and those two fires were our scope, not the other fires.
So I think that is a very frustrating answer to hear, because it was happening while people were responding to Palisades and Eaton fires. They were getting evacuation notices at the same time they were getting these rogue alerts. So while I think what you're saying is that alert was initiated due to the Kenneth fire, but that was pinging while we were issuing alerts for the Palisades and Eaton fires. And so it should have been included in this report, and it should be, again, whether it's part of the appendix or some other place, whatever was actually investigated on that alert issue should be part of this report. This is an after-action report on alerts and communication, and we should not be asking anybody to be going to multiple different reports to piece together what action we are taking and what we are learning about alerts and communication at a time like this. We have that report. It should be linked in here so people can reference it. I would say to overcome the issues that we're talking about with connectivity, some of the PSPS issues that our chair highlighted in communities, are there any particular recommendations, specific recommendations on how to modernize our practices to overcome those issues?
So I think coordination with the utility companies, which I know is a challenge, and a limiting factor in this to understand when the PSPSs are implemented and what it affects. I think providing the communities the education, again, getting back to the overall preparedness and education for the community to understand what PSPSs are and how they can affect their alerting systems, but also the county looking at the analog solutions. With the PSPSs that went through the community and shutting down some of these towers and limiting the ability to receive these alerts, there needs to be multiple outlets for the community to get the information that they needed.
Did Edison talk to you about PSPS?
Edison did not respond
Okay,
to us.
so I can tell you in my communities that they do know about PSPS. They're quite informed. They repeatedly experience the issues and have routinely brought these issues up to Edison. So from my vantage point, yes, more coordination can always happen, but it is not a lack of education or understanding, and it is not a lack of communication to the utility directly that how people are being impacted by these issues. So I hear you, but that is not the experience of my constituents, and for them to hear that they were not educated or properly trained is not true. They have not only gone through training, they've lived through Woolsey, they've lived through other alerts, so they know quite well. And when you talk about the analog issues, we in our district distributed thousands of NOAA radios, which are wonderful tools to use when you are without power, when you are without internet, when you are without your cell phone, when you have no other options. That was a point of information that actually my office had to push to be included in this report. It was not originally included. And in fact, my office, I asked my office to document all the things that we did in our district alone in regard to public communications. We have an 11-page report that we submitted of all of the communications from our office starting from December 30th to January 31st, and nowhere is that report included in this document. How did you decide what to put in this report, and why are things like that not included?
Again, we utilize the information to direct how we put the report together. Instead of including all of the information to now provide a 500, 600, 700-page report, we took that information to help summarize and identify what each of the supervisors' districts did, and to help us really consolidate what the findings and recommendations were. We wanted this to be a readable, actionable report.
I understand, but if I'm a person who doesn't know what your process is, and I just read the report, there's a section where there's one bullet for District 5 and one bullet for District 3 about what we did. And if anyone read that, they would think that we failed miserably to inform our residents, and that was all we did, when in fact we did much more. So I understand we have to learn and we want to improve, but I think we also improve by accurately accounting for what we did and whether what we did worked or didn't. And if it's not included in part of the report, I don't think we can properly evaluate how our residents were communicated with, what did or didn't work, and what actions should or shouldn't be taken in the future, or what we should or shouldn't rely on in terms of how we communicated with our residents. So I think if we want this report to truly be inclusive of all of the things that contribute to communications adjustments we have to make, we have to start by including all the things that we did do and really understand that. My third area that I want to touch on in terms of omission are water resources and facilities. And while I understand this particular report is focused on communications and the alert systems, you painted a broader picture of what happened throughout the fire. You showed us a map of how it moved. Can you tell me what we knew about the water resources and facilities? There's been well documented that there were challenges with water facilities and what we did or didn't know at the time. And so I heard that there were challenges with Bravo 69, that it was potentially without water. I heard that there was a reservoir in the Palisades that was without water. First of all, is all of that true? And second of all, if it is, when did we find out about those challenges?
Supervisor Horvath, I'll address the Santa Ynez Reservoir that's located within the city of Los Angeles. So the LA County Fire Department was never told or advised that that reservoir was being drained. I am aware from the press conferences that we had the first morning after the fires broke out on Tuesday that the 3 1 million gallon tanks that feed the Pacific Palisades area did run out of water at about 3 a.m. I did connect with our Department of Public Works. They were not advised either that the Santa Ynez Reservoir had been drained. I think that is a critical line for the city of Los Angeles. I think it's 1.7 billion gallons. For 69 Bravo performed very well during the 7th. It allowed the firefight
Did it run out of water?
I think it ran out of water that night, and we had to work with DPW to get a line opened up. I believe it was District 29 and also the Las Virgenes Water District that eventually refilled the 5 pumpkins that are on site in addition to the ground refueling or refilling station. But 69 Bravo
So there were times in the county-led area and in the Palisades that were also without water.
One more time, I'm sorry.
In the county-led area of the Palisades fire, were there times where we were without water? It's been documented that that happened in the city as a result of the reservoir. In the county-led areas, were we without water as well?
I have not been advised that we ran out of water at the Palisades fire in County District 29 or Las Virgenes.
But you just said that Bravo 69 ran out of water, so how did we account for that?
Correct, because Bravo 69 is fed by one line and a well that refills 5 pumpkins that are on site in addition to the ground filling station. I don't know if 69 Bravo running out of water is indicative of the entire area running out of water. I would defer that question to the Department of Public Works.
He's right behind you.
Good morning, Supervisor. Mark Pastrella, Director of Public Works.
So were we without water in the county-led areas of the Palisades fire?
No, Supervisor.
Why?
Because
We just heard that 69 Bravo was without water, so how were we not without water?
Chief Baroni is describing an isolated system not hooked up to our hydrant system, but to a specific tank at Bravo 69 that we refill through our feeder system. But it's separate from the hydrant system. So when you say, were we out of water, we did not run out of water in our hydrant system throughout the Palisades fire area, District 29.
Okay. I think one of the challenging issues that I think our chair also touched on with regard to her comments about the sheriff being in the lead is with the decentralized response, it is very hard for anyone who's following communications, even the most diligent among us, to truly understand how people are supposed to respond and what information they're supposed to get at what time. And so those were the 3 areas of omission that we've highlighted. But I think for me, because we have, in the Palisades fire area alone, we have the city of Los Angeles, we have cities, independent cities that contract for service with the county, and then we have the unincorporated areas. And so I need to walk through each of those areas to truly understand, because I have different constituencies who are hearing broad brush statements and need to really understand what this after action report is supposed to tell them, because there are multiple audiences that are hearing this information. So if I'm a resident in the Palisades, specifically in the city of Los Angeles, which is where the Palisades is, what alerts did I receive and from which entity?
Thank you, Supervisor. So if you are a City of Los Angeles resident, you received alerts from the City of Los Angeles, which issued them through their own authorities. They are an alert and warning authority. They have their own system and capabilities, and they were the ones issuing their emergency notifications based by unified command making a decision and then the city issuing that notification. With the other municipal cities you mentioned that
well, I'll get to them in a second.
Okay.
So if I'm in the Palisades, the evacuation warnings and orders came from the city.
that is correct.
But I know many people in the Palisades who got the bounced alert that you mentioned from the Kenneth fire. So if they're only getting alerts from the city, how are they getting that county alert?
So the alert system has the ability to send emergency notifications to geographically targeted areas, but then also countywide. The alert that went out in this technological glitch issue went out to the entire county. So that alert went and sent into every cell, receptive, transmitter throughout the entire county. So irrespective of what jurisdiction you were in, that alert was issued. We've had that same phenomenon occur from municipal jurisdictions. Just this year in 2025, a municipal city sent out a countywide alert when it was supposed to be geographically targeted within their city. So this is not a one-time thing. Now, for the Palisades fire in particular, the city of LA was issuing their emergency notifications for within their city. Now, the county was issuing emergency notifications, and as you said, you'll get to it, for the other jurisdictional entities within the Palisades fire, and our alerts were going to those geographical areas.
Okay, so I understand what you just explained, but as a person just receiving that information, you can see how that's incredibly complicated for them to understand. Another part of the city of Los Angeles that is also in my district is the Hearst fire area, which was mentioned. And while it is not the focus of this particular report, I know that they too were said that residents who were impacted by the Hearst fire said that they were not properly alerted or given enough notice. So were we issuing alerts for the Hearst fire, or was that somebody else?
No, we did do emergency notifications for the Hearst fire.
Okay, and so where will that be accounted for in the next report?
So can I answer that in two parts?
However you want.
So throughout this 2025 wildfires, the County of Los Angeles issued emergency notifications and alerts for a variety of fires other than just the Palisades and Eaton. The Hearst, the Kenneth, the Lydia.
Sunset, Archer,
Well,
Sepulveda,
Sunset was
Woodley.
a city of LA.
Yeah.
So there are multiple other fires beyond just the Palisades and Eaton that sent emergency notifications. Those are not captured in this report.
So when will we have an understanding of what happened in other fires? Is that part of the broader after action report?
We can add that to a broader.
Yes, because I believe those residents also deserve answers. Now, if I live in the unincorporated areas of 3rd District, Sunset Mesa, Topanga, Santa Monica Mountain communities like Montanito, what alerts did they receive and what entity sent them?
Those alerts were issued by Los Angeles County at the direction of Unified Command.
Okay. And those are all accounted for here in this report?
Correct.
Now, if I live in Malibu or Calabasas, Agora Hills, Hidden Hills, Westlake Village, who sent those alerts, and what alerts did they receive?
The County of Los Angeles sent those alerts in coordination with the municipal cities. So when Unified Command determined that, like I'm going to use Malibu as an example. When Unified Command determined that a zone that was within the city of Malibu was going to be placed under an evacuation warning or order, the County of Los Angeles' Emergency Operations Center was in coordination with the City of Malibu. The City of Malibu has an alert and warning system. They are an alert and warning authority and can issue those. However, when these complex disasters cross multiple jurisdictional lines, it creates effectiveness and efficiency for a single organization to send that notification out. In this particular case, the county made that coordination with the City of Malibu. It was a partnership. And it was determined that for the City of Malibu and the City of Calabasas and the unincorporated areas, the County of Los Angeles would be issuing those alerts.
I would agree. In fact, I heard from a resident of the Palisades this weekend, her frustration that she felt she had to go to multiple platforms and multiple places to get the information that she needed. And I think the more we centralize the information that people need to access, the more people get one voice speaking to them with what they're supposed to be doing. The more that we strengthen that our communication by unifying in that way, I think is important. And I would ask that anyone who really wants to understand all of the alerts look to page 118 in the report for the timeline of the alerts that were issued, because I think that helps to tell more of a clearer picture. So why did it take 2 days to stand up the JIC?
The Joint Information Center was initially the communications that we would say are coordinated communications were being done at the incident command post level. And as the press conferences started to scale up and the amount of information started to scale up, the confluence and the requirements needed for this coordination became very apparent. At the same time, we were working with staffing challenges to initiate the support structure within the Joint Information Center. Moving forward, we're going to take this report as that blueprint to activate the Joint Information Center in concurrence with the Emergency Operations Center and make sure that we have all of the PIOs, the public information officers, engaged at the front side, not just PIOs that are at the incident command post.
You're saying these are staffing challenges inside OEM that contributed to the delay?
I think it was staffing challenges and coordination challenges within the, primarily within the Office of Emergency Management in coordination with countywide communications, and then also our departments that provide public information officers.
So you leveraged county communications and you still didn't have enough resources to launch the Joint Information Center on time?
Well, as the report indicates, once we engaged with countywide communications, that's when we were able to effectively stand up the Joint Information Center. I think the report notes of importance that there was coordination within our communication occurring at the onset of the emergency through public information officers that were at the command posts who were leading coordinated efforts, in addition to the press conferences. I think of note is there's an optimization that the Joint Information Center brings that was lacking in those first 2 days. And that was what was critical for us to be able to build out that structure.
Well, I think given what we know about the Office of Emergency Management being small and the fact that you're in the same space with communications, I don't know, I know oftentimes it's county practice that there have to be requests made if it's not within sort of your silo or your lane. But I think as we move forward, a best practice has to be that work comes together immediately and that communications should be jumping in to work with you right away, and that we need to strengthen Office of Emergency Management overall in order to make sure that we don't run into staffing challenges, that we can, from the outset, communicate. To take 2 days after the height of the fire, as the height of the fire started and was spreading, to take 2 days to stand that up doesn't mean we didn't communicate. It just means that we didn't communicate in as coordinated a fashion as we could have. And that's frustrating for everyone who was desperately trying to get information to understand how to protect their families and how to protect their communities. So I think that's a very important lesson learned.
Very much agree.
And the last question I have, at the Malibu Lost Hills Station, our sheriffs work very closely with the fire department, and I cannot thank enough Commander C2 and Chief Smith, who work together hand in glove and in order to prepare, to educate, and coordinate with our community members. So how do we replicate this practice countywide, knowing that it's fire season now? We've had a tsunami warning this year. As you rightly mentioned, Sheriff, there will be an earthquake at some point. All of our districts experience different issues. How do we replicate that kind of coordination going forward?
First of all, thank you for recognizing Commander C2. She is amazing with her partner over at the fire department, Smith. It's interesting you're asking this question. Actually, today we're having an incident management training day with OEM, with fire, and they're heavily involved, although it is focused on tsunamis. As you know, we had an incident less than 30 days ago. So a lot of the training that we have for the Sheriff's Department, which we've identified and are moving forward with, and we did find weaknesses in what we've had before. As we move forward, she, at least on the Sheriff's side, is going to be heavily involved in that training. And our Emergency Operations Bureau, and the captain standing right behind me, she's been engaged. She didn't wait for anyone to tell her. We're all just taking it and just running with it, looking at best practices, and not only making sure that our own employees are prepared, better prepared based on some of the analysis that was done, but we're working in coordination with not only other county departments, but other police departments, at least from the Sheriff's Department's perspective, in the County of Los Angeles and surrounding counties like Ventura, like Orange County, like San Bernardino and Riverside.
And Chief, is there anything that you would add from a fire department perspective to ensure coordination?
No, but thank you for recognizing Assistant Fire Chief Drew Smith. As the Sheriff stated, we are doing incident command team training with the Sheriff's Department today. But I think it's just critical that we must align our policies. We must train together, and that includes not only tabletop exercises, but field exercises. As you know, in Topanga Canyon, we have an annual evacuation drill, and that's with fire and sheriff, in addition to TSEP, Arson Watch, and the Topanga community members. So I think that SD3 is a model for a mountain community that trains together and has that cross-department collaboration that is necessary for success.
Thank you. I want to restate that I know that there are multiple audiences today, so I do not apologize for the anger and frustration I am expressing on behalf of my residents who have lost so much and who are enduring the ongoing recovery process. But I know that they are not the only ones listening, and I want to acknowledge all of the members of our county family. Those who are in the 3rd District, my team is extraordinary. The 5th District team is extraordinary. The ways that people showed up, I do not mean in any way to diminish anyone's pain or suffering. And I know that members of this county family take very personally the losses that we have felt, the experience that we have had, and we continue to dedicate ourselves to doing better. And that is why we are bringing forward a motion today, and I hope there will be discussion about what we do going forward that will expand and support our Office of Emergency Management. It is essential to keeping our communities safe. It leads to preparedness work, coordination of emergency response, and support for recovery across county departments and with outside partners. In a region as disaster-prone as ours, with wildfires, earthquakes, floods, and public health emergencies, we need an OEM that is fully empowered to lead and coordinate throughout the region so fragmented communication doesn't limit our ability to inform, to respond, or to save lives. It's, I believe, time to create a standalone emergency management department with its own staffing, stable budget, and clear authority to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow. Our residents are counting on it. As I mentioned earlier, I was in the Palisades on Sunday afternoon and asked very directly, what are you going to do? Not just report, not just talk, what are you going to do? Residents didn't get sufficient information, and they don't have the capacity to go to different apps and platforms to get all of the information they need and coordinate it themselves. They want to see us make change, and yes, they want us to do it thoughtfully, but they want us to do it swiftly. Our regions are too fragile to be slow. So I offer that as part of the discussion. I know the chair indicated she was bringing forward as well, and I hope that it fosters dialogue among us. But I really do want to thank the members of our county family who have responded, who participated. I'm glad to hear that there wasn't a one who declined, because the more we get information, the more that we learn, and our residents deserve to have the answers. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will have discussions, Supervisor Horvath, because I do believe, and as I said, this impacts each and every one of us, and I think it's important for us to get it right. So I am open. I don't have all the answers, and I think it's important for us to have that dialogue.